It's time for the scoreboard with Greg Glasscock.
Welcome back to the final regular season edition of Beyond the Blitz Scoreboard. I want to welcome in Mr. Greg Glasscock. How are you, Greg?
Great. How are you doing today, Chris?
Doing pretty well. Doing good. Just trying to get ready for the playoffs to start tonight. So I know they've shifted a lot of the games to Thursday night now because of the weather coming in tomorrow night. So we'll jump in and get this coverage going. Just kind of touching base over on some of the flag football. The girls have started flag football playoffs as well. So just want to kind of recap some of that. I know we've not been able to cover a lot of that, but we've got two teams in the area that are playing in the playoffs. One being Boaz and one being Albertville. Boaz played the other day. I believe it was Tuesday. It's Tuesday or Wednesday they played. They won 46-0 over Fultondale. So they'll make it on into the next round there in the 1 through 5A region, or 1 through 5A of the state playoffs. They will go on to play Winona. Looking at the 6A and 7A, Albertville would play Austin. They would lose 32-7. I believe that was yesterday that they played. So Austin will go on to play Priceville. The only other school that was close to our region here was Gadsden City. They would lose to Decatur 15-14. So, want to congratulate Albertville on a great season. I know they made it in the top 25 in the nation at one time, before losing their next game and then fell back out. But still a great season, great program. And congratulate Boaz on a great season. They're doing really, really well and with their first win, in the state playoffs this year. So, good luck to them on the next game, and we'll continue to track them as we go along with the scoreboard. So, but with that, let's go and touch in on week 10 of last week to close out the regular season. Fife would have a bye week. Asbury was on bye week, and so was Sardis. That would close out Asbury and Sardis this season. So with that, then we would go into the next game would be Plainview at St. Paul. Plainview would win that game to finish the season 10-0. They would win 49-21 over St. John Paul II. DAR would travel to North Jackson. Unfortunately, they would lose that game 48-14 to North Jackson. Scottsboro, we talked about this game, Greg. Scottsboro being the 5A Region A champion would host Mars Hill Bible. And Mars Hill Bible, top-ranked team in 3A, heavily picked to win 3A again this year. Would come in and they just put it all over Scottsboro. They would win 41-14. Douglas would travel to Geraldine. Douglas unfortunately would lose this game. they'd lose 42-25 to Geraldine at Geraldine. So with that, we would get into the last two games here. Priceville and Arab would play each other. That would kind of give us a little bit of an idea of what we would have in this Region 7, Region 8 game. Here and be able to tell us kind of a little bit of an idea of what we might see with the playoffs here. So Priceville would get the ball to the 35-yard line. First play from scrimmage, they would score from the 35-yard line on a long pass, but it would be called back for holding. So then they would turn around and get the ball right back. They would drive a few plays and then turn around and throw an interception at the 45-yard line. Evan Jones would intercept that pass and return it for a pick six to put Arab up 7-0 with 9:40 in the first quarter. Priceville would then turn around and get the ball. They would drive downfield, tie it up from the 6-yard line out to make it 7-7 with just a little over 2 minutes left to go in the first quarter. A big night for Mason Ingram. He's a freshman for Arab. Again, Luke Hudson wouldn't play. I believe they were sitting basically the last two games to prepare for this week for the first round of playoffs. It being his senior year, trying to let him get some rest to have him ready for a big game against Fairview. But Mason Ingram would have a really good game. He would end the night with 2 touchdowns, this being one of them, from the 3-yard line to put Arab up 14-7 with 9.5 minutes left in the half. Priceville would then turn around and complete a pass for a touchdown from the 14-yard line to tie it up at 14, with 4.5 left in the half. And then Ingram would score again from 3 yards out with 1.5 minutes left to go in the half to make his second touchdown of the night. That would put Arab up 21-14. Arab would force a fumble on the 1 yard line. Priceville drove all the way down, got to the 1 yard line, and Arab would have a huge span there and force a fumble there on the 1 yard line and would recover it with 10 seconds left to go on the 5 yard line to end up basically just killing the first half there, and Arab would lead 21-14. Looked really good for Arab from there. Offensively, they were looking really good. Defense looked really, really good. But it was a tale of two different halves there. The second half, not really sure what would happen. Priceville just come out, and I'll be honest with you, I know, Greg, you were there, but Priceville's quarterback just looked really, really good. Arab just really had a hard time stopping him. But they would come out in the second half. Priceville would score or would get a deep pass down to the 1 yard line for 44 yards to set up a 1 yard run to tie it up at 21 with 9 minutes and a third. Priceville would then score again from 1 yard out with a quarterback sneak to go up 28-21. They would score again from the 10 yard line on another quarterback sneak to go up 35-21. And then they would score on a 41 yard play, a rush with 4.5 minutes left to make it 42-21 and basically shut Arab out the entire second half offensively. Arab would end up getting the ball there at the end, but they would end up throwing an interception at midfield, and that's where Priceville pretty much would just kill the clock. So Priceville will win this one 42-21. Unfortunately, that was the last home game of the regular season for the seniors there at Arab, so tough loss for them. But honestly, Greg, I know you was there. The first half looked very promising for Arab. Not sure what happened in that second half offensively, but they just seemed to they couldn't get anything together. I don't know what your thoughts were on that.
Yeah, matter of fact, I had a quick halftime interview with the Priceville radio guys. We were talking, kind of previewing the Guntersville-Priceville game tonight, and they told me kind of off air that was the worst half of ball they've seen all year out of Priceville, and yet they were only down by 7. Because I didn't really know what to expect out of them, and now I almost wished I didn't go because I'm overly concerned about tonight now after seeing that quarterback. That's probably going to be the best quarterback that Guntersville might see all season, is that kid tonight. He's a real deal. You got to know where he's at all times. And the thing about Arab, and you know this as well as I do, without Luke Hudson, they are so one-dimensional that in the second half, Priceville was loading the box and just daring them to throw it. And Arab right now is just not a very good passing team, in my opinion. And once Priceville got ahead in that game in the second half, I knew Arab was in trouble. And it just kind of snowballed through the second half as they didn't score at all in the second half. But you got to give a lot of credit to Priceville. They're a good ball club. They're a better than average 3 seed. They're very good.
Yeah, they're a really good team, which should make me really wonder how good is Russellville now. You know, with them playing Russellville, and Russellville pretty much they shut them down to only 9 points in that ball game. So, you know, it's going to make this interesting in this first week of the playoffs to kind of see how our Region 8 lines up with the Region 7. So, like you said, the quarterback, phenomenal kid, really dual threat kid. You had to basically spy him all night long. Had a really, really good arm, and that showed in the first play of the game when he scored on that long pass play. But he ran the ball really well. He could get out and break out some runs as well. So it'd be interesting to see how Guntersville does match up with them this week. So with that, let's go to the Guntersville-Albertville game. I know it's the longest standing rivalry in the state of Alabama. Albertville was really looking to try to get their second win. All honesty, Greg, I mean, we talked. I thought Albertville had a decent shot going into this one, based off of some injuries that Guntersville's had, and then too with some of the play that they've had. Albertville's not a shabby team. They kind of string things together, and if they can string things together and kind of stay on that momentum, they're okay. It's just when they have, one or two little blunders there, like a turnover or something, is when it kind of turns against them. So, but we'll let you kind of give the update on that one. I know you were covering that one on the radio. So,
yeah, I got to give Albertville a ton of credit. I mean, I knew they'd come out and play hard, and they did. And Guntersville missing Camp Green, I see it more now every week. They still had a tough time running against Albertville, even though they broke loose a couple times. But, with Albertville, it's been a season kind of missed opportunities, and whether it be penalties, turnovers, and that affected them a lot last Friday night, as there was a couple of fourth and short situations that Albertville went for it deep, and they did not convert. So, they finally converted with 1:11 to go in the second quarter, so we almost went a whole half a ball with no score, which is very odd, especially in this rivalry, too. Usually it's some fairly high-scoring games, but sophomore quarterback C.J. Zuniga to Brant Sweat, 13 yards out, extra point no good, 1:11 to go in the half, and it's 6-0 Albertville. And I'm thinking to myself, my goodness, we're going to go in the locker room down 6-0. And, I thought that'd be an important extra point, and it almost was. It seemed like the whole night in the kicking game with Albertville, whether extra points or field goal attempts, the snap and hold combination, it's almost like it was too slow developing. I mean, on this one where the extra point was no good, it never even left the snapper's hand, and Guntersville was all over the snap. I mean, it never was even kicked. It was just too slow developing. So they were up 6-0, and then, Guntersville found offense somewhere. I don't know. I guess it was their 2-minute, offense. And I joked around, one of the coaches said, we might need to run the 2-minute offense every possession, because they look so much better. And Street Smith hit Jack Lenore in the end zone, 20 yards, made it 7-6 at halftime. And then coming out in the second half, Albertville got the ball, very methodical, long drive. They held the ball over half the quarter, and then they had a field goal blocked. And then Guntersville comes right back. Street Smith to Dadrian Waller, 27 yards out. And with 3:19 to go in the third, Guntersville's up 14-6. Then after an Albertville punt, Smith, a 17-yard run, made it 21-6 late in the quarter. And I'm thinking, okay, here we go. This one might be about to get out of hand. But to give Albertville credit, they came right back at the very end of the quarter. Zuniga, 81-yard pass to Talik Saint, which, boy, he's got some wheels on him. And it was 21-12 as they went for two, and it was no good. But, on that one, Guntersville should have had an interception. There's no reason why that should have even scored. I mean, it was basically the pass was a wounded duck. Should have been intercepted, but I got to give Albertville's receiver Saint a lot of credit for cutting in front of the defender, catching the ball, and he's got a motor on him, and he was going down the sideline. So we go in the fourth quarter, and it's just a 9-point game. And I'm thinking, okay, here we go. And then Garrett Christie scored on a 6-yard run with 9:37 to go in the fourth quarter. So Guntersville was once again up, double digits. It was 27-12, but, back comes Albertville. Zuniga to Saint again, 6-yard pass with 4 minutes to go in the game. It's a one-possession game at 27-19. Then they did what I thought, everybody in the stadium thought they would do, an onside kick, because I think they only had one timeout left, and they got it. I don't know if Guntersville doesn't practice onside kicks. Nobody moved. It was one of the weirdest things I've ever seen. Albertville jumped on it, and I'm thinking, okay, here we go. They can actually tie the game up late, but Guntersville finally was able to get to the quarterback, and whenever they did, they were successful, as Kalen Cobb did a good job barreling in on the quarterback, Zuniga. He threw an interception, and from there, Guntersville was able to run out the clock and barely get out of there alive with an 8-point win, which, that's one of those games that's big to the communities and everybody, but no bearing on the playoffs, and you really just want to get out of it alive and no injuries and stuff like that and concentrate on the first round. But I do have to give Albertville a ton of credit. The kids played hard. But Guntersville had just enough firepower to get out of there. And plus, I'm sure Albertville and Coach Weingard and his staff could look at that game and look at the mistakes they made. Missed field goal, missed fourth down opportunities. Who knows what would have happened. But Guntersville finishes its regular season 9-1, and now we've got a huge playoff game at Chorley tonight.
Yeah, it's going to be a good game tonight. It'll definitely be a game. So I know you brought up Talik Saint. Talik Saint was out half the year for Aberville as well. So you imagine if they had him all season long, what could they have done? Some of those games, they were well out of them in some of those 7A games, but some of those earlier games, like I think Sparkman maybe was a close game. There was one other one, even before the Grissom win, at the Aberville game, you think how with Arab, how would they have done if they'd have had him for Arab? Like I said, he was out for the first 5 weeks of the season. So, definitely a very athletic young man. Be interested to see how they do when he comes back next year. So, he also plays basketball, very talented basketball player. Saw him at media days this week. So
they start their basketball season, I think, next Friday night.
I believe they actually play Saturday. Aberville does. They're playing in some kind of like a little showcase type.
Okay. I was thinking of a regular season. I know they open up at home, I think, against Florence next Friday night.
Yeah, they do. The 14th, I believe it is when their first game is. So it'd be a good game too, basketball wise. So that's going to end the regular season there for football. So now we're going to shift in. We're going to look at the playoffs, kind of cover those, have a little discussion here on those. So with 3A, we only have teams in our area here that are still in it. We have teams in 3A, 4A, 5A. So for 3A, you're going to have Rogers is going to travel to Geraldine being the number 1 seed in Region 8. So with that, Geraldine is pretty heavily favored in that game. They should win that game. Yeah. If they win it, they're going to play the winner of Vinemont Westbrook Christian. So that next round would be a pretty good game as well. So with that, this game, and I found out a little info on this one. This is going to be interesting to see if this info holds. I take everything with a grain of salt, but from what I've been told, this is a pretty reliable source. Lauderdale County at Fife. Fife is again heavily favored to win this game. The winner then would go play the winner between Phil Campbell and Piedmont. You know as well as I do, Greg, that's going to be Piedmont. Piedmont's just tough to handle. But in talking to this individual this week, they had told me that this is the last year for Paul Benefield. That's not fully out there, but the conversation had been held, and that this is probably going to be it for him. He's going to pass the torch on.
Rumors.
So I know I've been hearing it for several years. Love Coach Benefield. Coach Benefield came in my junior year when I was at Fife. Great guy. I saw him completely change that whole school and that program from what it was when I was a 9th and 10th grader there. Great guy. Like I said, you see why they're so talented and why they're so good if you ever go spend some time with them in a weight room, and you'll understand it. But yeah, so this is going to be interesting to kind of watch and see how they do. How this team plays, especially if they know this is his last rodeo. I don't know. We'll see. But we'll definitely be tracking this. So, going to 4A, you're going to have undefeated Plainview hosting Brooks. Plainview's on a good little run right here. A lot of people are saying with Coach Pruitt and with his son Jeremy Pruitt, them two. They're looking for a deep playoff run out of them. And I'm going to be honest with you, and watching how they played and some of these teams they played around here, I wouldn't be shocked one bit they don't make it to the semifinals and could make a run at the finals. I would put them as one of my top 4 picks to go to the finals. But if they win that game, they're going to play the winner of Fayette County and Alexandria. So want to wish those teams good luck. So jumping over into 5A, this is going to be our Region 8 games. So Arab will travel to Fairview tonight. They will play. The winner of that game will play the Jacksonville at Ramsey game. That's going to be a tough game. That's going to be one to watch. So we will track these games to also be able to cover for next week, so we can kind of see who the matchups will be. West Point will travel to Scottsboro. The winner of that will play Carver at St. Clair County. And then, as you were mentioning there a while ago, Greg, Priceville will host Guntersville. The winner of that will then play a very tough game in what we talked about with this Region 5, Region 6 groups of Corner at Moody.
Will be a good one, Corner and Moody.
Either one of those schools, you have to travel to either one of those schools. That's going to be a tough ball game. I don't care who you go to.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Corner, losing in the upset to Carter a couple weeks ago or whenever it was, they went from a 1 to a 4. So both of those teams coming in, I think, are 8-2.
Yes.
And that's not a normal 4 seed. I'd still say Moody's the favorite being at home, and they might win 5A. But I wouldn't sleep on Corner. They made a fairly deep run last year. They beat Boaz. I think it was maybe it was the second round, and then I want to say Corner got knocked out by Leeds in the third round last year. So,
yeah,
Moody doesn't need to sleep on Corner.
No, that's true. So then you're going to have Boaz traveling to Russellville. That's going to be a pretty tough game like we talked about. We saw how Priceville was and how skilled they were, but yet Russellville held them to 9 points. So I'm curious to see how well Pruitt has them ready and prepped defensively, and how well does Bennett play against him and Fant. How well do they play against that Russellville defense? So the winner of that game then will play the winner between Leeds and Briarwood Christian. So these 4 games are going to be pretty interesting. Greg, I don't know if you want to throw in what your thoughts are on the 5A. Who you think? Arab Fairview.
Yeah, I think a lot depends once again on Hudson. I mean, even if he plays, it's going to be tough for Arab to keep up with Fairview. Fairview's got such a high-powered offense, and being at home, I'll definitely favor Fairview in that game. But if Hudson plays, it could be a ball game. If he doesn't play, I think this one could be early over.
Yeah, so from what I understood, he's playing tonight, so I've not heard any differently. So I would expect him to be on the field. So West Point, Scottsboro should be pretty easily handled. Scottsboro, your thoughts?
Yeah, Scottsboro, I mean, you can't go by their overall record. They're 6-4, but to me, they've probably played the hardest non-region schedule in the state. Then they've got the unexplainable loss to Brewer, but, their non-region being to Clay Central and Fort Payne and then Mars Hill. I mean, that is like 3 top seeds in those regions and top teams in the state, too. Mars Hill being a 1. Fort Payne's highly ranked along with Central Clay. So Scottsboro's a good ball team. I do think, though, they're definitely beatable, as they've shown, but I think they'll have too much for West Point tonight at home.
Good. Priceville, Guntersville.
Boy, I don't know if I'm using a little reverse psychology on myself, but I actually think Priceville's got a great chance to win tonight. I hate to call it, and I'm going to pull a Herb Street and say I'm not since I'm calling it. But if Priceville wins, I would not be surprised at all. I think the big matchup there is the Priceville offense and the Guntersville defense, and a couple of the Guntersville coaches told me at the Albertville game that Priceville has the kind of quarterback they have not been able to stop this year, and they do. So I think Guntersville will be able to put up points on Priceville, probably no problem. I mean, I think they could easily score in the 20s, 30s against them, but I'm real concerned about keeping number 6 under wraps. If Guntersville can contain him, I think they can go away winning. But if he does what he did against Arab in the air and on the ground, it would not surprise me if Priceville pulls off the win. We'll just see what. And, the Guntersville offense the last few weeks, including against Albertville, just has not been impressive, and the coaches will tell you that. So I don't know what the problem is. Of course, when you miss your number 1 running back, I mean, that says a lot right there, but they're going to have to play one of their best games of the year, I think, to beat Priceville. To me, they have not had a real good, complete game since they beat Fort Payne in week 2. That's a long time ago. So we'll see. I mean, I know Priceville's going to come in ready to play, and hopefully at Guntersville, it is at Guntersville. That is a huge, selling point for Guntersville to pull out the win because they don't lose much at home. So home field does mean a lot. But it's going to be a tough game. I mean, usually when you get into a lot of these 2 and 3 seeds, they're pretty evenly matched games. And I expect a good one tonight.
Oh, yep, definitely. I'm gonna say this. I see the over/under on this going to be 65 points.
Yeah, I think it could be a high-scoring affair.
It's 35 game easily.
It isn't going to be no 21-14 final.
No, I don't. This isn't going to be a defensive game. This is going to be a very high-scoring game. It's going to come down to whoever can make 1 or 2 stops in the game to slow the other team down. And I think that's what's going to be critical for Guntersville is can they slow that quarterback? Can they stall them at least 1 or 2 drives? If they can do that and can still then put up points, that gives them a shot. But Priceville's gonna score just about every time they get the ball. It was shocking to see.
Well, I mean, think about it. I think Priceville's losses to West Morgan, Russellville, and Fairview, I want to say they were pretty much held to single digits or close to it in their losses. So I don't know what in the world. I didn't see any film or anything. I don't know what those teams did, which I'm sure the Guntersville coaching staff has seen all of that stuff. I mean, West Morgan is one of the top teams in 4A, and I want to say the final score of that game was 8-7. People that love defense love that game. If you like offense, you probably hated that game. But, that Fairview, I think, held them, I want to say 9 or something. Russellville, I forgot what Russellville held them to. So I don't know what the magic formula has been, but in the losses, their offense hadn't done anything. So, we'll see. I mean, I'd love to see game film on their losses to see what those other teams did against them. But you don't want to get in a shootout with Priceville, I don't think.
No, you don't. All right, Boaz, Russellville, thoughts on this one?
I hadn't seen Russellville. I've seen Boaz the one time when we played them. Boy, it's going to be tough going to Russellville. And I do give Boaz a shot. It all depends on how Fant does and, of course, the Bennett duo. I do give Boaz a shot. I give Russellville the edge if for no other reason playing at home. But it wouldn't surprise me if Boaz comes away with a victory in that game either.
Yeah, I would say the over-under on this one's 50. I say it's a low score. I say it's in the 20s, 20-something, 21, 28, 21, 31, somewhere right around in there. I don't see it being a big high-scoring blowout. Boaz needs it to be low to win the game. I'll say that.
They did.
Of course, 30 points, Boaz is going to have their hands full. So.
Oh, yeah, they don't need to give up a pretty to Russellville. If Russellville scores 30, then Boaz probably loses.
Yeah, they've got to keep it in the 20s. So, I am intrigued to see this kid from Fairview, though. I've only seen film of him, but I'm intrigued to see him in person. I've seen Fant, seen the kid from Scottsboro. I'm interested to see this kid because this is some of the top 3 running backs in this area right here. And this kid was the top running back at 5A at one time and was top 3 in the state at one time. So, I'm curious to see how he is in person. So
yeah, until our game yesterday got moved to tonight, which most have, I was going to actually go watch A-Rab at Fairview tonight and then cover Guntersville tomorrow night. But then with Mother Nature supposed to be acting pretty nasty tomorrow, a lot have been moved to tonight, so I'm not going to get to go. Or which direction are you heading tonight?
I'm going to go to Fairview A-Rab. I'm going to go watch that one and see how they do. And then next week, we'll kind of see what plays out with some of those games and see who all was left over and everything like that. So,
If we're fortunate enough to win the night, either way, I'm going to have a long road trip next Friday night.
Yeah. I've been wanting to see this kid from Fairview all year. I wanted to go watch him when they played Sardis, and I didn't get to. Unfortunately, that was the night that Arab Boaz played for 3-4. Missed it that night. So I've been wanting to go see him. So I'm going to make it a point to go see this kid tonight because I want to see how good he is. Because, like I said, I've seen a lot of film on him, but to see him in person was a whole other thing. So game speed in person and on film is two different things. So, but the one team that I'm curious, I'm gonna be keeping my eye on through these 5A playoffs, Greg, and I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm just throwing it out there. It's my pick to win the whole thing is Williamstown. Or Williamson.
Yeah, down in the Mobile area.
Yes.
They're very good.
They're the team that beat Murphy earlier in the year 100-0. They've put up 455 points and only gave up 38, I believe it was, this year.
They're going to be tough to beat. Yeah, I would have to say they are a favorite. As good as Booty is, of course, there was higher classification teams that they got blown out by, but they lost to Gainesville, Georgia, which is very good, coached by Josh Niblett, and then they lost non-region week to Auburn, which is very good. So, as good as Booty is, if you put somebody like Booty against Williamson, I'd have to give Williamson the edge in that game. They're just, they've definitely been a machine this year.
Yeah. See, Williamson, they beat UMS Wright 40-10. They beat Viger 22-14. The Viger game was the closest game they had all year. They won by 8. The next closest game was probably about a 40-point game. It's crazy, y'all. It was 28. They beat LaFleur 28-0 was the next closest game. So that's the team I'm curious to see how they do. I'm going to be keeping a close eye on them throughout the season or throughout the rest of the playoffs and everything. So, but 5A, man, it's going to be tough. You got Region 5, Region 6. If you're a Region 8 follower, you got to get through Region 5 and 6 if you want to step the semifinals, and that's going to be coming up right here in the next rounds. So,
yeah, what always makes it tough because, with Guntersville and their recent playoff past, a couple of years ago, I went down and covered them at Legion Field in the semis against Ramsey. Year before, or actually earlier that same season, they upset Pleasant Grove at home, which has now moved down to 4A. So, you're always going to have to get past one of those, I always say, those Birmingham area teams to make it all the way to the finals. It's just part of it, but hey, it's not supposed to be easy.
No, this is what you play for. You play.
That's right. That's what you signed up for.
Yep, and then now it's win or go home. So definitely want to wish all these teams, they've had a great season. Want to wish them best of luck in the playoffs. So good luck to Fife, Geraldine, Plainview, Arab, Scottsboro, Guntersville, Boaz, and Fairview. Fairview's in our area as well. So want to wish them all best of luck. Greg, anything closing out on this week?
Now, just looking forward to it. I should be in a good game tonight. Probably the highest scoring game in the region crossovers you'll probably see tonight. Great weather, so I advise everybody that loves football, get out, go to a game. It's going to be a great night for football. There might be still a few games tomorrow night, but I would think that would be in different regions of the state. I don't know how this front's coming in and how it's going, so last I heard, the teams in the southern part of the state, I think they're still playing Friday. Yeah. I think northern Alabama has pretty much all been moved to tonight. It'll be beautiful weather tonight to get out and catch some playoff football tonight.
Yeah, because I'm going to go ahead and guarantee you, if your team wins tonight and you play next week, you go on thermal and a heated jacket. And
Yeah, what I thought was going to start the week on, I think Monday, we're not getting out of the 30s all day, and yeah, it's going to be a colder week, so you better enjoy playoff football tonight.
Yeah, because it's going to be 30 degrees next week when they're playing, so.
Yep, that's right.
But yeah, so other than that, we'll be heading into basketball season here in the next 2 weeks. So we'll be shifting gears, still keeping up with what teams we have in the playoffs, and shifting gears into covering some of the basketball. So honestly, after media days this week, Greg, really looking forward to the basketball season. Got some really talented teams, and looking forward to some of these matchups and everything, especially the county tournament. So
yeah, that was all a lot of fun, the county tournament.
Oh yeah. So for anybody that wasn't able to see the media days, you can go out. You can go to either our Facebook page, and we've got it linked there where WQSB covered it, or they actually had it on YouTube, and you can watch it on YouTube as well on WQSB's page. And I believe they have it broke up by teams now. So, but definitely some talented teams. Going to be some good basketball this year. I'm looking forward to it. Excited to see how these playoffs play out and see how our Region 8 teams do and our teams up in the DeKalb County area. So, but other than that, Greg, anything you got?
That's it. I appreciate it, everybody, for listening in, and looking forward to a wonderful postseason. Should be a lot of fun.
All right. Well, everybody make sure and go out and support these kids. I know they've worked hard all year. They've worked to the goal of trying to be able to even make the playoffs, and so they've made it here. So these teams that's made it, go out and support these young kids, especially a lot of these senior athletes. This is their last time they're going to step on the field, possibly. And in the next few weeks, it will be. Definitely go out and cheer for them. Let them have your support and everything like that. I know a lot of times on the road games it's a little tougher, but give them all the support you can, because these kids definitely deserve it. So, but other than that, I want to say appreciate Mr. Greg Glasscock for joining us. Thanks Steven Spiegel for working in the background, getting all this done for us, and just say we will tune out here, and we'll see you next week. And good luck in the first round of the playoffs.